Hey everybody, we're about to get into some of the most complicated stuff and honestly my favorite set of tools in Inventor and CAD modeling, parametric constraints or parametric modeling. This means that you can add numbers to your model where you can control other numbers. So dimensions that can control other dimensions. So like we'll say that the height of one piece is equal to the width divided by 2 or something like that. We're going to make Legos because with Legos, they're all standardized. A bunch of the dimensions are standardized so they can fit together. So you can just create one of them and then just say, hey, the stud's wide. I want to change it from 3 to 6 or something like that. And then you can create whole new pieces without having to make them all from scratch. So here's the drawing file. This is what I want you to look at. Also, I've got this Excel spreadsheet that I want you to download. Let's do that in a second. First, let's go over to Inventor, create a new project. It's yelling at me because this is not my first take of this video. Create a new single user project. Go to this PC. Make sure you're going down to your H drive. I'm going to do it in my documents, Inventor projects. New folder. Let's call it A4_7_ parametric constraints your first, middle, last initials, not FML. It's Control C. Let's just make sure we have clicked on that and not new folder or anything like that. There we go. And let's paste it in here. It should be the same. Finish and done. Now let's create a new part. But before clicking here, instead, let's go up here and do new. Let's go to metric and then standard create. If you fail to do that and accidentally click the real create button, the regular create button with inches, that's fine. You can change it by going to tools, document settings, units, and then millimeters, apply, close. So the first thing we want to do before we even start sketching and modeling is going up here to parameters. This is also under manage parameters, but I just like this quick access toolbar button. You've got model parameters and user parameters. The user is obviously something that's defined by the user. You can add a numeric. Let's go ahead and do LU here. Let's tab over to unit type, make sure we're in millimeters, and we want this to be 1.6 millimeters. And that is called, let's comment it, Lego unit. Lego unit is a very standardized unit. A lot of these dimensions are based on that 1.6 millimeter dimension. So it's pretty nice and standard. So other dimensions will be pretty easy to identify. So we could go down the list of the user parameters I've identified for you, but that's where this handy Excel sheet comes in. Let's go to where I've got it in the Google Drive. Let's download it. I've got everything set up. I've got everything set up the way that I want it. Let's make sure that it goes into your your 4.7 folder. And then inside Inventor, let's link Lego parameters. And I think this is a problem that I'm having because I have done this a couple times before, but I think it should still work. Hopefully you're not seeing that problem. If you do, and if you know what is causing it, please let me know in the comments. I'd like to figure it out. So I've got SS, that means stud spacing. The spacing between the studs is pretty standardized. And obviously the distance between the stud and the wall is going to be half the distance between two studs. SS over 2. But I didn't define that because we can just easily say SS over 2. So SW is studs wide. I left you at a 1 by 1, studs deep and studs wide, 1 by 1 brick. So this 1 by 1 standard brick piece here, just open at the bottom. That's what we're going to make first because it's easy. The BH stands for body height. And we know that 6 Lego units is a block or a brick, and then 2 Lego units is a plate. Because 3 plates equals a brick. So we can change that later if we want to in the Excel document, but for now, let's keep it. Let's start a new 2D sketch on the XZ ground plane. Let's turn our orientation, create a rectangle starting at the origin, and let's do SS times S wide. Studs wide there. Tab over SS times SD. So stud spacing times stud depth. Let's finish that up. Let's extrude that up by body height, BH. Oh, it's so easy at this point. What I want you to do and get in the habit of doing in parametric modeling especially is start to name some of these things. Because if you go back to your parameters, you see all these model parameters have been added in And they just show up as D0, D1, D2. Obviously, that's going to get very confusing whenever you have hundreds of them. So let's start to name them. But first, I want to name the sketches and extrusions. Those are going to be hard to keep up with too. So let's slow double click and let's name this body sketch. Slow double click is so weird. You could, only for 3D features, right click and go to properties, and then you can name it body extrusion. Not for sketches. You have to do the slow double click, I think. So I've got those named, and now up here, I know exactly what I'm talking about. This is body. This is, I'm going to say W for width, body D for depth, body height. And wait, what's this fourth one? It's used in the body extrusion, but it's a degree angle. That must be the body taper. It creates a taper angle as a 0 default unless you change it. So we've got our parameters all named and everything. It's so pretty. Let's do a new 2D sketch on the top here. Again, change my orientation so it's nice. Let's create a circle pretty much in the middle, and let's make sure that this circle is, let's go to our drawing file. Let's make sure that that circle has a diameter of 3 Lego units. Here we go, dimension. 3 times LU. That times is the shift 8 asterisk. And then I'm going to define the location in terms of my origin point here. And like I said before, that is SS divided by 2 on both accounts. Oops. Dimension from here to here, SS divided by 2. All right, so now that is fully defined. It turned purple. Let's extrude that up by just 1 Lego. And then let's add a fillet. Oops, not there. Gross. Let's add a fillet on this edge. That fillet is going to be 5% of LU, but I'm going to show you this right here. You could actually name the parameter stud round R for radius equals 5% of an LU. So I typed in the name of the parameter, and then I said equals, and then I typed in the value that I'm assigning to it. Apply, cancel. And now if we go back to our parameters, I see that instead of D9, it's named stud round R. So let's name our stuff again. This is stud sketch. You can fast forward through all this naming stuff and just look at the end result. If you want to go a little faster, stud extrusion, stud round, and then our parameters again, stud dia for diameter, stud lock for location along the depth, stud lock along the width, stud height, stud taper. The reason we want to name these is because if we ever use them, if we ever define another parameter based on one of these other ones, we want to be able to use the name instead of just equals D10 divided by 2. That would not be very informative to somebody else looking at this thing. The last thing we want to do for our 1x1 is create a shell. And look at our tip down here. It says select surfaces to remove. We want to remove the bottom. And our thickness, we want that to be 75% of an LU, 0.75 times LU. So that's it. I want you to take photos of this, but before you do that, I want you to change the appearance to a appearance that starts with the letter of your first name. So if you are Corbin, pick a C. If you are Liliana, pick a L here, okay? Unfortunately, there's no J, so all you Johns, Jimmys, Jareds, and Josephs, and Jessicas, and Janets out there, you're going to have to pick one of these up here that have the numbers, okay? So pick something funny or whatever. Take screenshots of that. I'm going to keep mine at the basic level. That way you can't use mine. So I don't know if this is happening to you, but it's been happening to me. My home has changed orientation for some reason. Easy fix. I can just reset the orientation that I wanted. Right click on that view cube, set current view as home fit to view. And now every time I hit home, it goes back to what I wanted. Okay, so that's my 1x1. Now I want to change to a 2x2. Let's create, where's my 2x2 Lego brick? This is still brick height, 2x2 columns, studs. But on the back side, I've got this hollow column, and that is just big enough to where I can put a stud inside that hole if I wanted, or I could put studs around the outsides. So We're going to have to add this in a bit, but right now let's go and change our parameters in our Excel file. Enable editing. Let's change this to a 2, enter 2, enter. Let's Control S, save. Alt tab over to this. And it does automatically update it. See, if you go to your parameters, it is 2 by 2, but it's not changed here until you go inside some other feature and hit OK. I think it does that to kind of protect your pieces. So actually, shoot, we haven't named this whole thing. Let's go back. Let's do 1, save back over here. Let's do this opening. Hopefully you're not losing a lot of work. Let's Control S and save this piece. I want to do our naming convention as Lego brick 1 by 1 and your first, middle, last initial here. So now this is your 1 by 1. Then when you go back to your Excel and change it back to a 2 by 2, Control S, Alt Tab, File. Come on, File, Save As. You can name this as your 2 by 2, and it's not. I know it's not a 2 by 2 yet, but once we make it a 2 by 2, we can save it and then save it as something else, so our 2 by 2 state is preserved. So again, this updated to 2 by 2. We just need to go inside some feature and hit OK. So what do we need to do? Well, I would say take our studs, both the stud extrusion and the stud round, and rectangular pattern it. Let's do the depth first, so we stay alphabetical. Oh, look, it's going the wrong way. It's going away from the origin, so it's not going to create, it's not going to extend properly. We need to flip the direction. And then let's do the width. Fortunately, I named everything really nice. D for depth, SS for stud spacing, SW for width, SS for stud spacing. It's just 2 by 2 right now, so it's kind of hard to tell. But oh no, our little dimples down here did not get copied. That's because our shell came before our rectangular pattern. Let's do some time magic and say that our shell came after our rectangular pattern. Now it's better. So the next thing we've got to do, actually, you know what? Let's take a moment to rename some of this stuff. This is stud rec pat, and this is, oops, double clicks too fast. You can always, for 3D features, at least right click body shell. And then go back up here. Let's name this as body thickness. Let's name this as stud rec pat. Let's just do pat, stud pat. This will be count, stud pat count, depth, stud pat spacing, depth, oops, depth, stud pat spacing, width, stud pat, oh, I messed it up, spacing. This one is count, width, and this one down here is spacing width. Please let me know in the comments if I'm making any more mistakes. So we've got everything named. Let's create our column now. Start a new 2D sketch. Click and drag and stuff. Start a new 2D sketch. Let's make sure we're oriented properly. In this case, I like having the bottom upside down so that my origin is up at the top. So let's create a circle right in the middle. This, I believe, is going to be 4 Lego units. Dimension this as 4 times LU, and then dimension this, the center of this to the edge, as an entire stud spacing. Because when you put 2 of them together, these columns will actually line up the other way. Okay, that should be from the top. Stud spacing entirely. So now we want to extrude this down, and the way we've got it right now, 10 millimeters, that's not right. We actually want it to be body height, but that's not right either. We need to take out the thickness. We need to subtract that 0.75. And you can take out the body thickness, but I'm just going to kind of do it the easier way for now instead of the better way, the smarter way. So I'm going to add a second extrusion. as this whole cut. You could do 2 circles and extrude just the donut part. Doing it this way allows me to later time travel again and cut some of that rib stuff out. So I like it better this way. This is going to be a 3LU circle, and I did center it according to this other circle, but I just want to make sure that I'm at SS and SS. Okay. So that will be extruded backwards, and look, it's saved, it preserved my formula. Okay, and the last thing I want to do is fillet the inside here as, again, 0.05 LUs so that it fits. All right, looking good. So now my 2x2 is done. I would make sure your appearance looks good and then take a photo of your 2x2. Yep, looks like that, complete with the nipples and everything. Cool. So next, let's go ahead and save this 2x2 and then file save as to start our newest thing. And I believe in my document, I wanted to do a 4x2, and that should be the last thing. 4x2 Lego piece. And in order to do that, let's change that to a 4. Let's Control S save. Let's Alt tab back over here. Let's look at our parameters just to check. 4 and 2. Ooh, we got a lot to name. We can do that in a bit. And let's do some random extrusion. Let's look at it. Edit extrude feature failed. Let's go ahead and accept it and see what went wrong. So it doesn't like the hole. Not sure why. No effect. It doesn't like that fillet because it doesn't like the hole. So this, oh, see, so I defined it based on the wrong edge there. So give me a second to try to remedy this, because the origin is over there. And I made this sketch to be based on the wrong edge. I think all I should need to do is, say from here to here is spacing. I fixed it. So now, obviously, you see we need more columns in this 4x2. We need a rectangular pattern of the columns. And then if we ended up with like a 4x4, we'd probably have to have columns coming down. So let's do our rectangular pattern of, see, it's hard to know what exactly we've got if you don't name it. So this is the column, I think. This is the column hole. I'm pretty sure this is the column fillet. Then the direction we want to do, again, let's keep our naming convention the same. Let's go depth first and away from the origin this way. And then let's do the width and again away from the origin. So let's make this studs deep and studs wide, and then stud spacing and stud spacing. But look, we've got too many. We only need 1x3, so we are 1 extra on both. So we can just take out those extra ones. There we go. Our rectangular pattern looks great. The last thing to do for this 4x2 is that rib right there in the middle, that rib. So I like this rib. It's kind of interesting. Let's start a new 2D sketch right here. Rectangle. And now we're creating a rectangle on the edge. Just make sure you see that symbol there. Boom. That is a collinear or coincident constraint. And then make sure you see it down here as well. Okay. Now, even if it were to change, even if we were to do a 2x2 or a 4x4, that rectangle would move with it. It's basically a dimension without having a dimension on there. So I think this should be a half of a Lego unit. Right here, yeah, half a Lego unit. 5 times LU. And then from here, this is actually going to be 2 spacings from the wall, but I've got to take out half of the width of the rib itself. So another quarter Lego unit. I'm going to subtract. Okay. And now I can extrude that rib. I want to extrude it what was it? Body height minus 2 layer units. Because if you look at the plate, even if the size suggests that you should have a rib, you do not need a rib on the plate because it's so small. So if you do it this way, BH minus 2 LU, if BH equals 2 LU, then it will be 0. So it actually doesn't like that very much. It'll still kind of work, but it's not a great solution. But I will show you a different solution later, hopefully, if I get to upload more videos. So again, this extrusion, this rib, I want to rename it anyway. Rib extrusion. Again, it is not happening before the hole, so easily I can just move that up. Cool. So that piece is done. If you want, please feel free to continue this. Take your rib and rectangular pattern it over so you can get some more pieces like this. This, I think, is a 6 by 2. So you want more rectangular patterns and more ribs, more and more ribs. If you were to make a big block, you could do that. Make sure you can create your plate the way that I was just talking about. Another interesting thing you can do is for your rib extrusion, right click and go to properties, and you have this suppress if BH is equal to 2LU. That's the better way of doing it. So now if I were to go into my parameters and change BH to 2LU and then save, and then go back to this and update it by doing this. Now it is a plate and my rib is now suppressed because that's what I wanted. Cool. So there's a plate if you want. I also implore you to use my dimensions drawing to add these little ridges. That would be cool for extra credit. For the full extra credit for this assignment, I want you to make a Lego brick that is X by Y, where X is the number of letters in your first name, Y is the number of letters in your last name. Cool. I hope you enjoyed this, and shout out in the comments.